I lived with Ethan for 3 years and he never proposed. I didn't pressure him because we were both broke. Then one day I found a receipt in his jacket pocket. He'd bought a designer handbag priced at several years of my salary. Later, I overheard his buddies asking him, "Are you really going to keep it from her forever? You're about to marry someone else." Ethan lit a cigarette, scoffing. "Why not? My acting skills are pretty good, right? I've acted this charade for 3 years." I silently turned around, dropped the ring I'd been planning to propose with, and quit my job on his wedding day. I boarded a flight to a distant country. I disappeared completely from his world. The sunlight streamed gently onto the floor through the sheer curtains. I hummed a tune. Tossing Ethan's clothes into the washing machine from his shirt pocket, I pulled out his wallet, keys, and a neatly folded receipt. My heart skipped a beat out of habit. I always checked all his pockets to make sure nothing was left behind. Unfolding the receipt, the glaring logo, and a long string of numbers hit me like a punch to the gut. LV. I'd only ever seen and heard about this brand on TV. My fingers unconsciously tightened, crumpling the receipt in my hand. 280,000 that was equivalent to several years of my salary. I tried to recall if there had been any special occasions recently. No, my birthday, his birthday. Neither could it be a surprise for me. The thought had barely surfaced before I squashed it myself. Impossible, he had never given me such an expensive gift. Besides, given his financial situation, a strong wave of unease washed over me. I clutched the receipt, almost tearing it to shreds. I double-checked carefully. The signature was indeed his, a flamboyant goo, even though he hadn't written his full name. No, I had to find out. I grabbed my bag, rushed out the door, and headed straight for that highway-end boutique. The store was lavish, crystal chandeliers sparkling with blinding light, making me feel a bit intimidated. "Hello, how can I help you?" A sales associate approached her, smile professional. I took a deep breath, trying to keep my voice calm. "I'd like to ask about this receipt." I handed her the crumpled receipt. The sales associate took it, glanced at it, and her expression suddenly became subtle. "It's for this bag." She hadn't finished speaking when a familiar voice interrupted her. "Sis, what are you doing here?" I looked up to see my cousin Ashley. She worked at this store and was even the manager. Ashley wore a stylish uniform and heavy makeup, a stark contrast to my simple attire. "Ashley, do you know this customer?" The sales associate looked surprised. Ashley's eyes swept over me and a meaningful smile played on her lips. "Of course, she's my sister." She walked over to me and intimately linked her arm through mine, but then changed her tone, lowering her voice a few shades. "Sis, why are you here? This place, it's not somewhere you can afford to shop." I ignored her sarcastic remarks, pointing at the receipt and asking, "Do you remember this receipt?" Ashley glanced at the receipt, her eyes flickering. "Yes, of course I do. It was last week. I remember it clearly." She paused, her tone turning somewhat gleeful. "That day a super handsome young man came with a tall beauty. He didn't even bat an eye, just swiped his card for over $1 million. That woman had such a great figure and an excellent demeanor. You could tell she was an affluent and beautiful woman. They were being openly affectionate all over each other. And he was even carrying her bag." She spoke, observing my reaction. I felt my heart sink little by little, as if crushed by a giant boulder, making it hard to breathe. "Sis, this is customer privacy. I shouldn't really be saying anything." Ashley effed to sigh, "but since we're friends, I have to warn you, men like that, you can tell right away they're loaded. Why are you here asking about him? Don't you have a boyfriend you've been with for several years? What now? You're saying he's poor? Planning to find a new one? Don't be delusional." Her words were like sharp knives piercing my heart. Ashley loved to compare herself to me. She always looked down on me going to a prestigious university only to end up like this, earning a few thousand a month and with a boyfriend with no money. I ignored her, simply bringing up Ethan's photo on my phone and handing it to her. "Take a look. Is this the person?" Ashley pursed her lips. "I don't know what you're thinking." She took the phone and looked at the photo, her eyes widening with each glance. "It really is him. Sis, is this your boyfriend? Your boyfriend dresses so shabbily he can't compare to that guy, though his face does look pretty similar. Honestly, your boyfriend's face alone is worth the price of admission." The sales associate beside us leaned over and exclaimed, pointing at Ethan's photo. Isn't that the person who brought his female companion to buy a bag that day? I heard they're a couple and are about to get married. I desperately dug my nails into my palm to keep my composure. Then grabbed my phone and reseated and walked away. Thank you, lost in thought. By the time I got home it was already dark. Ethan, wearing an apron, was busy in the kitchen. Seeing me return, he immediately offered a gentle smile. You're back. Dinner will be ready in a minute. He placed the hot meal on the table, the aroma filling the air, braised ribs, sauteed seasonal greens, and my favorite, corn and rib soup. He sat across from me, his eyes gentle, his tongue concerned. What's wrong? You look terrible. His work too stressful. Looking at his caring demeanor and his familiar face, a mix of emotions swelled within me. I had been with Ethan for 3 years. I knew what kind of person he was. The man in front of me, the one who cooked for me, was the Ethan I knew. I shouldn't doubt him. Too lently tucked the crumpled receipt into my pocket, forcing a smile. Nothing, just a bit tired. I observed Ethan for a few days, seeing him act as usual, going to and from work. And at the end of the month, handing over his entire salary that was deposited into his hard for me to manage, nothing was different from before, and I gradually relaxed, blaming myself for overthinking. I tucked the receipt into my diary and jotted down my feelings at the time. Everything returned to normal. At the end of the month, I received a birthday invitation from my college roommate Vanessa. Vanessa was famous in our dorm for being a wealthy heiress, her family in the mining business. A true heir to a mining fortune, her birthday was naturally a grand affair held at the gardens. I rummaged through my closet, finding my best dress, and then bit the bullet, buying a delicate bracelet at the mall as a birthday gift. The garden's decor was utterly luxurious, crystal chandeliers, marble floors. Every detail reeked of money. In the private room, Vanessa wore a haute couture gown, radiant like a proud princess. Besides, and me, our other roommates had also arrived. Olivia, now an executive at a foreign company, looked sharp and capable in her business attire. Mia had married a wealthy second-generation heir and was now a stay-at-home wife, wearing an enormous diamond ring that practically blinded you. Harper had started her own business, opening a beauty salon that was thriving, and she was decked out in designer brands from head to toe. In comparison, I, a junior manager at a small workplace with a meager salary, felt a bit out of place. "Oh Lily, you're finally here," Vanessa greeted me warmly, pulling me to sit beside her. "Come on, sit, we were just waiting for you." As old friends reunited, we naturally chatted animatedly. After a few drinks, the conversation gradually shifted to what we had all been up to. Olivia had been promoted and received a raise. Mia was pregnant with her second child. Harper's beauty salon had opened new branches. Everyone seemed to be leading glittering lives, only I was the same as always, ordinary Lee with nothing noteworthy happening. "Lily, what about you? How have you been recently?" Vanessa asked with concern. "I'm doing okay, I guess," I offered an awkward smile. "Still working at that small workplace," Harper interjected, patting my hand. I nodded. "Oh Lily, back in school you were the brightest with the best grades and strongest abilities. How did you end up like this now?" Olivia shook her head, looking disappointed in my lack of ambition. "That's right Lily, we all thought you'd achieve great things back then," Mia echoed. I knew they were speaking the truth. In college, I was indeed the most dazzling one in the crowd. But now I had become the most unremarkable among them. "By the way Lily, where's your boyfriend? Why didn't you bring him along for us to meet?" Vanessa suddenly asked. "He's busy with work, no time." Ethan never attended any of my gatherings, so I hadn't even asked him this time. All right, tonight is our girls' night." Now talking about men, I only invited our dorm mates, so tonight we drink until we drop. Vanessa picked up her glass, changing the subject. "Happy," and so we ate and chatted. And before I knew it I had drunk too much. My head spun and my stomach churned. I stood up to go to the restroom. When I returned, I stood in the hallway, wanting to catch some fresh air and clear my head. The hallway was quiet with only faint music echoing. I leaned against the wall, closing my eyes, trying to compose myself. The door of the private room next to ours was ajar, and voices drifted out. One of those voices was all too familiar. Was that Ethan's voice? I strained to peek through the crack in the door, trying to see clearly inside the private room. Ethan sat squarely on a leather sofa, legs crossed, casually toying with an elegant lighter. His nonchalant posture was like a king surveying his domain. Was this still the Ethan I knew? Ethan, haven't you been acting this charade for too long? Aren't you tired? A man in a sliver grey suit asked with a light laugh, pouring Ethan a drink. That's right, Ethan. Your wedding date with Isabelle is already set. How much longer are you planning to keep it from your little girlfriend? Another man in a black shirt chimed in, his tone laced with amusement. My head buzzed and my mind went blank. Ethan was getting married. I felt as if I'd been struck by lightning, my body rigid, unable to move, my heart felt clutched by an invisible hand, the pain almost suffocating me. Have you gotten addicted to playing poor? Are you really going to hide it from her forever? The man in the silver grey suit spoke again, his voice full of teasing. Ethan finally looked up, a playful smile playing on his lips. Why not? How about it? Buddy, my acting skills are pretty good, right? I've acted this charade for 3 years, but the game should end now. Ethan took a light sip of his drink, his eyes dark and deep, like a bottomless abyss. After I get married, I can't keep playing around like this. I promised Isabelle I'd settle down. The man in the black shirt burst out laughing. True, after the wedding, it won't be too late to explain it to her. What's there to explain? Just disappear. Isn't that cleaner and saves trouble? My body swayed and I almost fell to the floor. Ethan, you're being too heartless, aren't you? After all this time together, do you feel nothing for her? The man in the silver grey suit seemed somewhat put off. Ethan took a deep gulp of his drink. That kind of thing. What's it worth? Besides, I'd been with her for several years, doting on her for so long, handed over all my pay every month. She should be content. Ha ha ha. Salary. You mean you took a few thousand from your dividends to give her, right? 3 years. How much did you give her? Was it even $1 million? I'm just a poor guy earning a few thousand a month. How much do you expect me to give her? Ethan glared at him. His poor guy image couldn't be ruined. Lily's a good girl. It's just that she's not suited for our circle. What a shame. Ethan remained silent, only drinking. I stumbled backward, turning to flee this suffocating place. I don't know how Vanessa found me. I only remember stumbling along the street like a puppet whose soul had been extracted, letting the cold wind tear at my hair and clothes. Lily, are you crazy? What are you running from in the middle of the night? Vanessa's voice came from behind me. Laced with urgency and reproach, she grabbed my arm, forcibly pulling me back. Do you have any idea how scary you looked just now? You were like a ghost. I looked at her numbly, my eyes vacant, unfocused. Vanessa, I opened my mouth, but my throat felt choked, unable to utter a sound. Vanessa was frightened by my disheveled appearance. What's wrong with you? Don't scare me like this. She pulled me back to the gardens, to the private room we had been in. As we entered, the other roommates immediately gathered around Lily. Are you okay? What happened? Why do you look so pale? A cacophony of concerned voices washed over me like a tide, but they couldn't warm my frozen heart. I mechanically shook my head. Nothing. I didn't want to say anything. I just wanted to be alone. I took out my phone, found Ethan's photo, and handed it to Vanessa. Vanessa, please look into this person for me. Vanessa took the phone, glanced at the photo, then at me. She seemed to understand. All right. Don't worry, leave it to me. Vanessa patted my shoulder. I promise I'll get you results soon. Thank you. I really wasn't in the mood to stay any longer. They understood and told me to go home and rest. I hailed a taxi and returned home. Though I called it home, it was really just the apartment Ethan and I had rented together 3 years ago, a modest apartment, 2 bedrooms, and a living room just over 60 square meters. Our landlady was a very kind person. House prices had soared in recent years, but she never raised our rent. She always said it wasn't easy for young people to make their way in the world. She even said that if Ethan and I stayed together, we could live in this apartment for life. I once thought this was Ethan's in my home because here Ethan and I had so many beautiful memories, cooking together, watching movies together, planning our future together. Every little detail was vivid in my mind. Not long ago, I had even considered buying this apartment, a simple renovation, making it our marital home. Ethan's salary, combined with my own earnings and partly time jobs over the years, totaled several $100,000. It was enough to buy a small pre-owned apartment. I had already settled most of the details with the landlady. All that was left was to sign the contract and make the payment. I had even prepared a proposal. I walked to the nightstand and pulled open the drawer. Inside lay a red velvet box. I opened the box to find 2 wedding rings, simple in design yet exquisite. These were the wedding rings I had secretly ordered. I had planned to propose to Ethan once we bought the apartment to give him a surprise. Now it seemed this surprise was nothing short of ridiculous. I picked up the rings, caressing the cold bands, and memories flooded in, engulfing me. 3 years ago, Ethan and I had just graduated, broke but deeply in love. We started living together in this modest apartment. At first Ethan worked in sales at a small workplace. His base salary was $2,000, and with commission, he'd bring home $3,000 to $4,000 a month. Those days were tight. Rent, utilities, groceries, every expense had to be carefully budgeted. I remember one time I really wanted durian, but a single durian cost over $100, and I hesitated for a long time, unwilling to buy it. Ethan saw through my thoughts. He walked over silently and hugged me from behind. If you want it, buy it, don't deprive yourself. But it's too expensive, I whispered. He kissed my forehead. It's okay, your husband will work hard to earn money, so you can eat whatever you want. That night Ethan didn't come home. The next morning he returned carrying a large durian, clear dark circles under his eyes. You didn't sleep all night? I asked in surprise. He smiled, a bit tired but very gentle. I worked part-time, made a few extra food deliveries, and earned enough to buy the durian. He opened the durian and its rich aroma instantly filled the entire room. Go on, eat it, my sweet tooth. I looked at him and tears immediately streamed down my face. It was the sweetest durian I had ever tasted. From then on, I secretly vowed to make our lives better. I started being frugal, spending every penny wisely. I'd go to the grocery store to find cheap and fresh vegetables, learning to cook various money-saving and delicious dishes. I'd alter Ethan's old clothes, transforming them into stylish new pieces. I'd find all sorts of coupons online, driving down the prices of daily necessities to the lowest possible. I even started taking on some part-time jobs, online writing, copywriting, doing design to help with household expenses. Though it was hard, I enjoyed it because I knew I was working hard for our future and had always been very diligent. He left early and returned late every day, working hard and continuously improving his professional skills from the initial 3 to 4 a month to 5 to 60, 07 to 80. Now he was bringing home over $10,000 a month. He was promoted and became a sales manager. He also often took me out for fancy meals and bought me gifts. I remember one time he took me to an upscale restaurant. The dishes there were exquisite and the prices were shockingly high. I felt a bit uneasy. Ethan, this place is too expensive. Let's go somewhere else. He held my hand, his gaze firm. Lily, trust me, I can give you a good life. I don't want you to have to compromise any. At that moment I truly felt like the happiest woman in the world. Another time on my birthday, Ethan secretly bought me a necklace. It was a necklace I had admired for a long time in a mall display window, but had never been able to bring myself to buy. He put the necklace on me, whispering in my ear, Lily, happy, in the future I'll give you even better. I looked at him, my heart filled with sweetness and emotion. I thought we would be together forever. I tightly gripped the rings in my hand, gave a bitter laugh, and tossed them into the trash can. My stomach started aching. I thought for a moment, then dialed Ethan's phone number. Hello Ethan, I spoke weakly, my voice trembling slightly. Lily, what's wrong? Why does your voice sound so weak on the other end? Ethan's voice immediately grew anxious. My stomach hurts. I clutched my stomach, curled up on the sofa, feeling waves of cramping, pain, stomach ache. Your period isn't due yet. His tone was full of worry. For 3 years he had been more attentive to my period than I was myself. He would calculate the days each month in advance, preparing ginger tea and brown sugar water for me early. When my pain was severe, he would thoughtfully buy me heating pads, rub my stomach and alleviate the pain. Later he found an herbalist somewhere and insisted on taking me to see him. I took herbal remedies for half a year and he gradually helped me regulate myself. He completely cured my specific health issue affecting her cycle. What's going on? Wait there, I'm coming right back on the other end. Ethan's voice was urgent. I could even hear his hurried breathing. Half an hour later, the sound of the door lock turning echoed and Ethan rushed in full of urgency. He still carried the cold wind from outside, his face etched with anxiety. I leaned on his sofa, feeling somewhat disoriented, watching him rush towards me. For a moment I couldn't distinguish between reality and dream. Lily, what happened to you? Where does it hurt? He quickly came to my side, knelt down, reached out to touch my forehead, then placed his hand over my lower abdomen, gently rubbing. His hand was warm with a familiar warmth that seemed to lessen my pain. Did you eat something bad or get chilled? Let's go to the hospital, he said anxiously, still rubbing my stomach. I'm fine, it just started hurting suddenly. I'll be fine after some rest. I shook my head, forcing a smile. I looked up carefully, studying Ethan's face. He was as gentle as ever. Ethan, I said softly, my voice a bit hoarse. Do you remember what I mentioned to our landlady before? I paused, then continued, I want to buy this apartment. I looked at him, my eyes carrying a hint of expectation, a hint of probing. The money we have should be enough to buy this small apartment. My voice grew softer and softer, almost inaudible. Once we're married, we'll have a place to call our own, won't we? As I said these words, it felt as if a great weight had lifted from my heart. Yet another worry was suspended there. Ethan was silent. He didn't respond gently as he usually did, nor did he offer any promises. He simply remained silent. Looking down, his expression unreadable, the room was eerily quiet. With only my rapid breathing remaining, time seemed to freeze. Every second became incredibly long. Lily, he said, his voice deep and hoarse, let's talk about marriage later. Right now, your health is the most important thing. He stood up. I'm taking you to the hospital. I won't feel at ease if you don't get checked. I shook my head. I just caught a chill. I'll be fine if I lie down and rest. Then let's go inside and rest. I'll find some medicine for you. Ethan helped me into the bedroom without a word. I watched him busy himself until I was settled asleep. Then he sat by the bed. Lily, let's talk about marriage later. I want to give you the best. I don't want you to have to compromise. I tried hard to control my emotions, not wanting to break down in front of him. Ethan, I don't care if you have money. I don't care about the size of the apartment. As long as we both work towards the same goal, that's enough. Ethan looked at me, his eyes complex. Lily, I know you don't care about these things, but I do. He paused, seemingly organizing his thoughts. Then his phone suddenly rang. The shrill ringtone shattered the heavy atmosphere in the room. He glanced at the caller ID, his brow slightly furrowed. After he finished the call, he looked at me apologetically. Lily, something came up at my workplace. I have to work overtime tonight. Will you be okay at home alone? I shook my head. Go ahead, I'm much better now. He leaned down and kissed my cheek. Get some sleep. If anything happens, be sure to call me. I'll be back after I finish work. He left in a hurry, watching his retreating back. My heart turned cold. I drifted into a hazy sleep. When I woke up, Vanessa's WhatsApp messages bombarded me like a machine gun. I didn't even have time to reply before a barrage of screenshots and texts came flooding in. Lily, take a look. This is your Ethan. I clicked on the first screenshot, which was a financial news page. The massive shocking headline read, "The group Ethan makes public possibly marriage with Sterling Ethan." I stared fixedly at the name, feeling my heart clutched by an invisible hand. Almost suffocating me below was a photo. In the photo, a handsome man was surrounded by a crowd standing in the spotlight. He wore a well-staged, the suit, a faint smile on his face, exuding an innate elegance in every gesture. That was Ethan. No, that was Ethan. I trembled, my fingers shaking as I zoomed in on the photo, examining his face in detail. This face I knew all too well. I had touched it, said it countless times, but now this face seemed so strange, so distant. Lily, don't be foolish. He's not called Ethan. He's Ethan. He's the Barnes family's long secret heir who has only recently come to light. The family, do you know them? They're a truly influential family, ordinary people like us, aren't even worthy to shine their shoes. He was just playing around with you. Did you really think he'd marry you? I didn't reply to Vanessa, mechanically opening the next screenshot. It was a photo of a wedding invitation. The gilded lettering and exquisite patterns all bespoke the wedding's luxury and grandeur. Groom Ethan, bride Isabelle, Lily. I'm telling you, Ethan and Isabelle's wedding is set for the 5th of next month at Vance Hotel. Do you know the Grand? It's the most luxurious hotel in the entire city. A single banquet table costs hundreds of thousands. The family status is so high, even our family can't compare, let alone you. I knew what she meant. She wanted to tell me that Ethan and I were simply not from the same world. I should accept reality sooner, let go sooner. Lily, take my advice. Break up with him. Better a quick pain than a prolonged one. He's been lying to you all this time. That's unforgivable. Staying with him, you'll only get hurt in the end. She was right. I was already hurt. My heart was shattered into a million pieces beyond repair. I closed WhatsApp, threw my phone aside, and curled up on the sofa like a wounded animal. Tears fell silently. He wasn't my Ethan at all. He was Ethan, the high and mighty heir to the Vance family, and I was just an ordinary girl, a plaything for his amusement. Suddenly I felt so tired. I wanted to escape this world full of lies and deceit, to escape this man who had broken my heart. I opened my computer and sent an email, and while I was at it, typed out a resignation letter. My stomach still ached faintly, and waves of cramping pain brought fine beads of sweat to my forehead, gritty in my teeth. I ultimately decided to go to the hospital by myself. The doctor said it was acute enteritis and required an IV drip. The cold liquid flowed into my veins through the needle, and I drifted in and out of sleep on the hospital bed all night, having many bizarre dreams. The next morning my spirits finally recovered a little and I hurried home. Opening the door, I froze. Ethan was sitting on the sofa, his eyes bloodshot with green stubble on his chin. Clearly having been up all night seeing me return, he abruptly stood up, walked quickly to me, and anxiously asked, "Lily, where did you go?" His voice was filled with deep exhaustion and worry. "I called you so many times last night. Why didn't you pick up? Do you know how worried I was?" That's when I remembered my phone. I quickly pulled it out of my bag and found it had run out of battery and turned off. I lowered my head, feeling somewhat guilty. "I'm sorry my phone died." Ethan looked at my pale face and the medical tape on the back of my hand and instantly understood. "You went to the hospital alone last night." His voice was full of self-reproach and heartache. He held my shoulders, his voice trembling slightly. "How could you be so foolish? Why didn't you call me? Don't you know He was incoherent, his eyes red-rimmed. He took a deep breath, trying to calm himself. "It's good, you're all right." He hugged me tightly. He helped me to the bedroom and laid me down. "Go back to sleep, get some good rest, don't think about anything else." His tone was gentle, like he was coaxing a child. "I'm fine, you don't worry." I struggled to get up, but he held me down. "No, you must rest." His tone was firm, brooking, no argument, but I didn't ask for leave. I still wanted to insist on going to work as a corporate drone. I preferred not to take leave if possible. After all, taking leave meant docked pay. I didn't want to lose my attendance bonus because of sickness, especially since I hadn't submitted my resignation letter yet. "Lily, listen to me." Ethan's voice hardened. "I'll handle the leave for you, and I promise your pay won't be docked." He guided me into the bedroom, helped me take off my shoes and socks. After I lay down on the bed, he gently tucked the blankets around me, his tender movements as if handling a fragile treasure. "Get some good rest," he whispered, then turned and left, closing the door softly. A moment later my phone rang. It was my boss calling. I pressed the answer button, and before I could speak, my boss's rapid-fire voice burst through the receiver. "Lily, how are you feeling? Is it serious?" "Oh, don't worry about workplace matters. I've already made arrangements for you. Just rest at home for a few days." "All right, consider it a mini vacation." My boss's tone was unusually enthusiastic. "Mr. Johnson, one day of rest is enough. I'll come to the workplace tomorrow." "Lily, why are you being so formal with me?" "Don't worry, you won't lose a single penny of your salary or bonus, and since you have such good connections, why didn't you say anything?" You came to work at our small workplace and you didn't even use such good connections." My boss's voice held a hint of regret and even a touch of flattery. All right, I won't disturb your rest. Get well soon." "All right," she finished and hung up the phone in a hurry. I gripped my phone, sitting numbly on the bed, understanding deep down that my boss must have misunderstood something. She must have thought I was Ethan's side piece, kept outside. I slowly closed my eyes and let out a long sigh. Once true identity was confirmed, many details I had previously overlooked now became incredibly clear, flashing through my mind like from a movie. For instance, the seemingly ordinary lighter he used was actually a limited edition Zippo lighter, inlaid the tiny diamond that would reflect dazzling light in the sun. I used to laugh at him, saying it was just a lighter. Why make it so flashy? Now that I think about it, I simply didn't know its true value. And the late-night snacks he often brought me were always ordered from an upscale bistro that only accepted reservations and was ridiculously expensive, with average consumption over 1,000. At the time, I thought it was just a snack stand near his workplace and told him to bring it to me often because I liked the taste. Also, last month I accidentally lost an important document from the workplace, got frantic and was almost fired. Yet Ethan just made a casual phone solve and the problem was miraculously solved. Back then, I thought he'd ask someone for a favor and even suggested he arrange a dinner to thank them. These little things, like tiny pebbles, grated painfully in my heart. I had always believed we were lovers, sharing joys and sorrows. But I never imagined he had been putting on a charade for me all along. Still not asleep, Ethan pushed the door open and walked in. He came to the bed and gently stroked my cheek. "Does it still hurt?" His voice was soft, laced with concern. I shook my head. "That's good. Get some more rest. I'm going to the workplace to handle some things. But I'll be back by noon to bring you something delicious." He looked at me tenderly, his eyes full of affection. "Okay," I murmured, not daring to meet his gaze. He leaned down and gently kissed my forehead. "Be good." He turned and walked out. I slowly got up from the bed and went to the window. I saw Ethan walk out of the apartment complex entrance. Outside the apartment complex, a black Mercedes slowly pulled up and stopped in front of him. The car door opened and a man in a suit stood respectfully by the car. Ethan naturally bent down and got in. The car slowly started disappearing into the traffic. "Ethan, you deceived me for so long. I should hate you, but you acted so caring towards me. How can I feel resentful?" But what good would resentment do Ethan? No, Ethan. He was destined to return to his magnificent world. He made his choice and I should let go. I slowly stood up and looked around. This small but cozy apartment held 3 years of our joys and sorrows, witnessing a love we once thought would last forever. The photo hanging on the wall was taken when Ethan and I went to the amusement park for the first time. In the photo, he held me high above his head and I laughed like a child, my eyes sparkling with happiness. Did he still remember? We squeezed in front of a small cotton candy stand, waited in line for a long time just to buy 2 pink cotton candies. "Lily, look, doesn't this look like you?" He pointed to a heart-shaped cotton candy, smiling brightly. "How does it look like me?" I pouted, pretending to be angry everywhere. "It's just as sweet." He playfully pinched my nose, saying with affection, "He made me laugh." And I reached out to snatch the cotton candy from his hand, but he held his hand high, not letting me reach it. "No, this is mine." He teased me on purpose. Stingy. I stood on my tiptoes, trying hard to reach. He suddenly lowered his head and gently pecked my lips. "Now it's yours." His voice was deep and gentle, with a hint of playfulness. My cheeks instantly flushed red, my heart pounding so fast it felt like it would leap out of my chest. Another time we went to watch a movie together, and at the touching parts one started crying my eyes out. He gently pulled me into his arms, wiping away my tears. "Silly girl, it's all make-believe. Don't cry." His voice was soft with a trace of heartache. "I know, but I just can't help it," I sobbed. He didn't say anything more, just held me tightly, warming me with his body heat. His embrace used to be my safest haven, but now this haven no longer belonged to me. I started packing my things. Actually, I didn't have many belongings. 1 suitcase was enough. I didn't take any of the expensive gifts he gave me. Oh, I used to think these gifts were cheap, But now I know that no thing he gifts could be cheap. They were too dazzling, too extravagant, out of place in this small apartment and incompatible with my life. I opened a drawer and took out a bank card. Inside was our shared savings, 850000. We had saved it together by being frugal, originally intending to buy a house. Now I'm taking this money, it's what I deserve. I had the suitcase deep inside the closet, covering it with some old clothes. At noon Ethan returned. He indeed brought dishes from that upscale bistro, all my favorites. Lily, come eat. He placed the dishes on the table and called out to me, I've already taken the afternoon off. What do you want to do? I'll be with you. He looked at me, his eyes filled with anticipation. I want to go to the amusement park, I said softly. This was my last wish and my final farewell to this relationship. The colossal crystal chandelier, like a cascading galaxy, illuminated the entire ballroom as if it were midday. The air was filled with the perfume and the fragrance of fresh flowers intertwining into a dizzying scent of extravagance. Vanessa stood in a corner, holding a glass of champagne. But her mind was elsewhere. Her gaze was fixed intently on the man on the wedding stage. Ethan wore a custom-tailored black suit today. The perfectly cut fabric accentuated his flawless physiology, and a subtly luxurious sapphire cufflink adorned his collar. He exuded an undeniable aura of nobility and elegance, yet his face showed no trace of the joy a groom should feel. He distractedly dealt with the surrounding guests, his eyes occasionally drifting towards the entrance as if waiting for someone such high standards. Indeed worthy of the VS family, this grand affair. TSK, TSK, someone beside her exclaimed. Indeed, I heard the wedding venue alone cost over 10 million. This crystal chandelier, surely it's real crystal, right? Of course Miss Sterling is the heiress of the corporation. Could it be anything less? Hey, you know Mr. Vance usually seems so aloof. I never thought he'd be so attentive to Mississippi. You don't understand, do you? This is a strong alliance, a marriage alliance, get it? Vanessa sneered. Humph, these people have no discernment. Ethan stood on the stage, his mind drifting far away ever since he took Lily to the amusement park after they returned. Lily seemed no different than usual, still gentle and serene. Lily was so wonderful that he couldn't bring himself to tell her he was getting married, so he found an excuse to go on a business trip and didn't return for several days. He thought that after the wedding he would talk to Lily properly. He had his responsibilities, and he hoped Lily would understand him. The wedding march began to play. Isabelle, arm in arm with her father, slowly walked onto the stage. She wore a priceless wedding dress today, covered in diamonds that sparkled brilliantly under the lights. Her face was radiant with happiness, as if all the world's light had gathered upon her. Ethan stood still, forcing a faint smile as he watched her approach. Just then, his phone rang. He glanced at the caller ID, and his face instantly changed. He answered the phone almost without hesitation. Hello. On the other end was Lily's boss from the workplace. Mr. Vance, Lily resigned to you. Knew about this, right? Ethan's pupils constricted violently and his body trembled slightly. What did you say? His voice was laced with an almost incredulous panic. Where did she go? He roared into the phone, his voice hoarse, completely losing his usual composure. I don't know, she didn't say anything, Mr. Vance. I just thought you might want to know this news, so I informed you. Ethan numbly hung up the phone and turned to walk out. His steps were hurried, even stumbling. Ethan, where are you going? Miss Eleanor rushed forward to stop him. The wedding is about to begin. You can't leave. Ethan dodged her hand. Get out of my way, he snarled, his eyes bloodshot, and he stormed out of the ballroom without looking back. He left behind a group of stunned guests and a Livy Vance family in the crowd. Vanessa sneered, watching his disgraced departure. Ethan, don't you love to toy with people's hearts? Don't you fancy yourself clever, manipulating everyone at your fingertips? Now you finally taste what it's like to be abandoned, don't you? You lost Lily, you'll never find her again, Ethan. You'd better never find Lily. How dare you break her heart? I received my advisor's reply, setting the date for my departure to complete the graduate studies I had left unfinished in college. Fortunately, my former advisor was still willing to accept me. this prodigal student, I packed my suitcase and took one last look at the apartment I had lived in for 3 years. While waiting at the airport, Vanessa sent a series of voice messages. I opened the first one, and Vanessa's characteristic, slightly arrogant voice came through. "Lily, do you know Ethan? That scumbag ran away in the middle of his wedding. He must have gone to find you. Surfs him. Right, let him pretend, let him lie to you. Let him never find you again." I didn't open the subsequent voice messages. Vanessa's voice was clearly gloating. I knew she was genuinely happy for me. The last message was text: "Lily, have a safe trip and finish your studies soon. Don, friends, remember to visit us when you come back." I looked at the screen, smiled and replied with a thank you. Then I turned off my phone, opened the back cover and took out the SIM card. I threw it into the nearby trash can without hesitation. Goodbye, Ethan. 2 years passed quickly. I was like a dry sponge, voraciously absorbing knowledge. I buried myself in the library and lab, almost forgetting the passage of time. In these 2 years, I hadn't paid attention to any news from home besides my parents. I hadn't contacted anyone else. I was afraid that if I heard any WS about Ethan, I would be tempted to turn back. Fortunately, everything was over. I graduated smoothly. The sun was beautiful on my graduation day. I stood on stage in my master's gown accepting my diploma from my advisor. At that moment I felt like I had finally been reborn. I had already received job offers from several major companies in the country. I carefully compared each company's offer. Ultimately, I chose a company located in Lakeside City. Firstly, my parents had moved to Lakeside City and I wanted to be closer to them. Secondly, the company's main business was artificial intelligence, which aligned perfectly with my major. Thirdly, Lakeside City was very far from Eastwood City. After returning home, I was like a homing bird, eager to fly back to my parents' side. I spent a few good days with them, eating, shopping, chatting, as if to make up for the lost time of the past 2 years. My parents' faces were beaming with happiness and newfound ease and contentment they hadn't had before. After a brief reunion, I plunged headfirst into my new workplace. I was like a wound-up machine, working non-stop. The pace at the new workplace was fast and the intensity was high. My department was the core of the core. Every day involved endless meetings, countless emails, and frequent business trips all over the country. This business trip was scheduled for Eastwood City. After finishing my work, I made time to meet Vanessa and the others for dinner. The girls gathered together, chattering endlessly, always finding topics to discuss. After a few drinks and some food, everyone was a little tipsy. Vanessa suddenly nudged me with her elbow, gestured with her mouth, and whispered, "Lily, someone's looking for you outside." I paused, a faint premonition stirring in my heart, but I still asked casually, "Who is it?" Vanessa's gaze was complex, and she hesitated, finally just uttering 3 words. "You'll know when you go out." I took a deep breath, stood up, and walked out. Outside the private room at the end of the hallway stood a familiar and yet unfamiliar figure, Ethan. After more than 2 years, I saw him again. He wore a custom-tailored dark suit, his hair meticulously styled, and a valuable luxury watch on his wrist. He exuded the confidence and composure of a successful man. Every gesture conveyed the demeanor of someone in a position of power. Gone was the deliberate air of destitution and awkwardness he had once put on for me. When he saw me, his usually stern face instantly softened, revealing a gentle smile. That smile, overlapping with the sunny smile of the boy I remembered, caused a moment of disorientation. He walked towards me, stopped in front of me, and looked at me intently. "Lily, long time no see." His voice was deep and magnetic, with a barely perceptible tremor. "Long time no see." I responded faintly, my tone distant and polite. He seemed to sense my coldness and the smile on his face froze for a moment, but he quickly recovered, pointing towards the private room. "It's not convenient to talk here. Shall we go outside?" I looked at Vanessa and the others. They had already discreetly retreated into the private room, thoughtfully closing the door. "Let's go," Ethan said softly. I didn't refuse. Some things needed to be made clear. After all, he didn't take me to an upscale restaurant, nor to a romantic cafe. Instead, he took me directly to the apartment where we once lived together. standing below the familiar building, my heart couldn't help but ache fiercely. This place held too many of my memories. There was sweetness, hardship, happiness, and despair. Ethan skillfully took out his keys and opened the door. The furnishings inside were exactly as I had left them. Even the teddy bear I had placed on the nightstand was still quietly lying there. It was as if time had never passed, as if I had never left. I bought this apartment. Ethan's voice came from behind me. He walked to my side and stood next to me. Look, Ingrid, the small and simple apartment. I didn't speak. Just stood quietly. A faint smell of mildew permeated the air. The scent of an old house. It was also a smell I was once familiar with. Ethan turned and faced me. His eyes were sincere, yet complex. There was guilt, nostalgia, and longing. Lily, I'm sorry, he spoke, his voice soft yet heavy. I know I wronged you back then. I shouldn't have deceived you, shouldn't have hidden my identity, and even more so shouldn't have hurt you. These past 2 years I've been reflecting and regretting. He paused, took a deep breath, and continued. I know you might not believe me now, but every word I say is true. I've never forgotten you. Lily, can we be together again? I looked at the familiar liar yet unfamiliar face before me, this face that once made my heart pound, that I thought was sunny and handsome. Now, when I looked at it again, my heart felt completely calm. I clearly knew that I no longer loved him. Between us, there was not only time and distance, but also a chasm that could never be crossed. Those deceptions, those betrayals, those hurts, were like sharp knives, slowly piece by piece, dissecting my love for him until nothing was left. I didn't even know how to address him. Ethan, or this name brought me so many sweet fantasies now, brought me so much sickening irony. I carefully started to speak, but before I could utter a sound, he suddenly interrupted me. Lily, I have officially changed my name to Ethan. Could changing his name erase the despicable things he had done? He looked at me, his eyes full of deep affection and anticipation. 2 years ago, I ran away from the wedding. I know how much that wedding must have hurt you, Lily. I've been waiting for you to come back. He said this with such sincerity, as if he were truly a man consumed by love, desperately waiting. In the past 2 years he had been to France. He tried to contact me, however. As soon as I heard his voice, I would immediately hang up and block the number. I didn't want to hear anything about him anymore, didn't want to have any more ties with him. He even had the nerve to go to Lakeside City to find my parents. My parents already knew he was the ex-boyfriend who had deeply hurt and disappointed me. How could they give Ethan a good reception? It was their utmost civility to politely ask him to leave before he left. My mom warned him, Mr. Vance, please don't disturb us again, has nothing to do with you. My mom told me all of this later. Ethan didn't know any of it. He continued to speak of his deep affection, his regret, his changes. He looked at me eagerly. Lily, I've started to learn how to be a mature man worthy of your reliance. He took a deep breath. I still want to be with you, Lily. Please give me a chance. Okay, let's start over. Okay. His voice was trembling, pleading, but my heart was still like calm water. There wasn't even a ripple. I looked at him and said calmly, Ethan, it's impossible for us. We're not on the same path. Never have been, from the start. You come from an influential family accustomed to luxury, while I'm just a girl from an ordinary family. Our values and outlook on life are completely different. These things can't be changed by effort alone. There's a chasm between us. You'll never understand the hardships and struggles I've been through, and I'll never be able to adapt to the extravagance and hypocrisy of your circle, so let's just let it go. Let's end it here. Let's end gracefully. Don't torment each other anymore. After saying this, I felt a significant weight lifted from my heart. It was like shedding a heavy burden. Ethan's eyes instantly reddened. He opened his mouth as if to say something, but then swallowed it back. He looked at me, his eyes filled with unwillingness, pain, and a hint of despair. Lily, are you really not willing to give me even a single chance? I've troll. Why changed? I truly know I was wrong. From now on, I will treat you well. I will give you everything. His voice was trembling, pleading. I shook my head, my attitude resolute. Ethan, it's no use. Some things, once they've happened, have happened. They can't be changed. It's over between us. It's completely over. Whatever you say now won't change that fact. Let go, it'll be better for both of us." He fell silent. He slowly sat back down on the leather sofa, lowering his head and covering his face with his hands. The entire room was eerily silent. I stood there quietly, neither speaking nor leaving. I knew he needed time to accept this reality. After a long while he slowly lifted his head. His eyes were swollen and red like peaches. He took a deep breath, trying to compose himself. "Okay," he said slowly, his voice almost inaudible. "I respect her choice." He stood up, walked to me and looked at me with complex eyes. Then he turned and went into the bedroom. Soon after he came out with a property deed and a bank card. He placed the property deed and bank card on the coffee table in front of me. "I bought this apartment in your name the year you left." I was stunned. For these past 2 years I would occasionally come here to stay. "Now, since you're back, this apartment is yours. You can do whatever you want with it." He looked at me, his eyes carrying a hint of reluctance, a trace of apology. "There's 10 million in this card. It's not much. But take it. Don't feel burdened. Girls always need some financial security, no matter what happens in the future. Financial security provides confidence." He paused, his tone becoming even gentler from now on. "When I'm not by your side, you need to learn to protect yourself. If you're unhappy at your workplace, just resign. Don't compromise yourself, understand?" His eyes were filled with concern, worry, and deep affection. But this affection came too late. He hugged me tightly one last time, as if he wanted to meld me into his very bones. "Lily," he whispered softly, his warm breath tickling my neck. He gently stroked my head, his fingers running through my neat, short hair, carrying a hint of lingering fondness. "You still look better with long hair," he said softly, a trace of nostalgia in his voice. "But short hair is cute, too," he added, his voice filled with an indulgent smile. I stood still, letting him hold me. I knew this was our final. It was truly over between us. He released me, giving me a deep look, as if to engrave my image into his heart. "Let's go, I'll see you off," he said, then turned and walked towards the door. I took one last look at the apartment, filled with memories. My heart a mix of emotions. The ride was silent when we arrived at the hotel downstairs. I got out of the car. He parked the car and looked at me from inside. "If you ever come to Eastwood City again, just find me." He looked at me, his eyes serious. "No matter what, I can still be your host." His tone was sincere, with an unmistakable hint of insistence. I smiled and agreed. "Okay," I nodded, but in my heart I knew that we would most likely never meet again. I would return to Eastwood City, but I wouldn't see him, and he was just a passerby in my life. A passerby who once brought me joy and tears. The phone suddenly rang, breaking the silence in the car. I took out my phone and saw Mom displayed on the screen, a surge of warmth filling my heart. "Hello, Mom," I answered, my tone light. "Lily, when are you coming back?" Mom's familiar voice came from the other end, full of concern. "Mom made your favorite braised ribs, waiting for you to come home and eat, Mom." "I'll be back tomorrow morning," I replied with a smile, my eyes welling up. Home would always be my safe haven. No matter what I experienced outside, home would always be my warmest refuge. Good. Good. Be careful on your way," Mom instructed. "I know, Mom." I hung up the phone. Nag tea had fallen and the street lamps glowed dimly. Ethan's car had long disappeared into the traffic. I smiled, feeling a sense of release. Ethan's life was never short of rationality. His life was like a pre-reproductive me. Straight line, precise, efficient, never making mistakes. His only moment of madness was probably his 300 year with Lily. His only loss of composure was at his wedding when he abandoned Isabelle, dressed in her wedding dress, and frantically searched for Lily in front of everyone. His eyes were red that day as he grabbed everyone who knew Lily, asking, "Where's Lily? Where did you take Lily that day?" He looked utterly distraught. Not at all like the noble and indifferent young master of the Vance family he usually was. Ethan had married an heiress from an established family from equally prominent families, as planned. He systematically took over the family business, making it thrive. He became Mr. Vance, revered by everyone in the business world, decisive and shrewd, strategic and masterful. His naive thought of continuing to be just friends with Lily was something only he took seriously. Lily never contacted him proactively again. There were a few times when he knew Lily was in Eastwood City, but he waited, and Lily never called him, after repeated disappointments. He understood that Lily's words that day were just a polite dismissal. She simply didn't want to see him again. She had completely removed him from her world. It was like erasing chalk from a blackboard, leaving no trace. Years later was on another business trip to Lakeside City. He saw Lily. She was arm in arm with a man, both laughing and chatting as they walked out of a restaurant. Sunlight fell on Lily's face and her eyes were crinkled in a smile, such a bright, radiant, carefree smile. One he hadn't seen on her in years. Ethan stood across the street, watching from afar through the surging crowd. In that moment, he felt as if his heart had been ripped out, empty. The cold wind held through him. He was chilled to the bone. Inside and out he stood rooted to the spot like an abandoned statue, motionless. Someone beside him cautiously asked Mr. Vance, "What's wrong? Do you want to go say hello?" Ethan didn't speak, he just stared intently at her. A swirl of intense emotions in his eyes, but ultimately he did nothing. He just turned and walked away with resolute steps, carrying an indescribable sense of desolation. He finally realized the Lily who once had eyes only for him, the Lily who once threw caution to the wind for him. She had completely left him forever, never to return. He had personally lost her. Alright, that's the end of today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. We'll keep updating with more exciting stories, and we look forward to seeing you next time.